I'm going to show a clip from Tucker Carlson interviewing Saagar Enjeti. I'm going to use that to dive into a conversation about how the world isn't divided by country as much as it used to be. I mean, I think that's something that we all kind of know. Just fleshing that out a little bit. I want to show this clip.
And it's very clear that he was murdered by another inmate.
That's right.
And we know that a bunch of them were transferred out of that unit right after he died. Who were they? Where are they now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't we get an answer to that question? So the whole thing that this tape shows that he didn't kill himself is like a joke. But worse than that, it's a joke that we all get. Like, they're not fooling anybody. So I feel like we're at a dangerous point now.
Yeah, I agree, because the lie is more it's not, the lie at this point is not even part of trying to convince any of this is true.
Yes.
The lie is a signal to everybody else involved in the scheme that to the ultimate ends, the United States government will go to protect all of you.
Yes.
And that's the question.
Man, is that smart.
This is something that I've been thinking for a long time, but not exactly the way that he just said it. When Trump was going through the years between his two terms, or even in his first term, it seemed to me that there were so many lies that would just be coming out about things that Trump said or things that he did. To me, it revealed, it's one of the reasons that I ended up voting for Trump, because, look, if I feel like there's so many people that are be polarized by that idea. If I say I voted for Trump and then you lose half of the people, but it's like you were faced with a choice between Trump and Kamala Harris, who we don't even know, like, I think nobody, or just about nobody that's trying to vote for Kamala Harris even knows who she is. What does she even represent? Who is Joe Biden? What does he actually represent? To me, these people are clearly a kind of puppet. Kamala is different than Joe Biden in the sense that Joe Biden's on his way out. I think Kamala is power hungry. She's looking to get her hands on whatever power she can possibly get. You know, Trump might be the same to some degree. I mean, there's an article or not an article. There's a clip at some point where he talks about the power and how much power is in the presidency, and you could tell he wants that power. Okay, and so I don't think that I'm sure I don't see everything perfectly, but it's not some delusion that I'm being saved by some heroic savior that's coming, descending from the heavens. Trump is a flawed candidate, but I think he represented some things that were certainly better than the road that we're about to go down if we voted the other direction. Now, what's happening right now doesn't look very good. And so we'll see how this shakes out. But to me, it's hard to know exactly what's happening right now. But certainly, this leaves me thinking that, well, it takes us to our other topic. It leaves me thinking that maybe it's time to get out of the U.S. genuinely, and because there's just too much corruption. And it seems like there's no way we're going to vote ourselves out of this. So, all right. So, but first, let's hit this topic of the lies. So there were tons of lies, and you could look at it. Forget who you voted for. Forget any of the politics of any of it. Just look at the fact that tons of lies are told from talking heads, from corporate, from large organizations, from the government, that the people that are in power in any capacity don't seem beholden to truth, and they're happy to tell lies. Okay? And then you have to try to understand, why is that? And so to some degree, maybe some of the people are telling lies because they want to maintain their own power. But there could be a whole lot of reasons why people tell lies. And then you also have to wonder, how organized is it? Are there multiple factions that are warring, and so nobody has a grip on the power, or is everybody in league together and this is all theater that's just designed to keep the people suppressed? Are we somewhere in between and it could go one direction or the other? It's kind of hard to say, but you're trying to watch this and say, okay, me, this one person with one meager vote, I try to understand about as much of the information as I can and cast my vote in the way that, is helpful, is going to, at least steer us in the least wrong direction. That's the way I see it. Now with Trump, I genuinely thought, for all his flaws and his moral failures, we actually have somebody that is going to try to move in the best direction of Americans in general, that he wants to see the United States to do well at the fundamental level. He's grateful to the opportunities that the United States provided to him, and he wants the United States to do well. And so, but there's definitely moral failures of his. For one example, there's a thing coming out right now that he wants to, which is maybe not as important, but I'll mention it. He wants to do a UFC fight at the White House. I think this is ridiculous. I don't think the White House is a place to have a UFC fight. I have no problem if Trump wants to go to UFC fight in his free time, and that's something that he enjoys. I think the competition of mixed martial arts is something that is interesting to watch on some level, but it borders on just violence for violence sake. It borders on blood sport, if not goes too far into that. And for me, I don't even watch. I used to watch it when it was brand new, and they were trying the mixed martial arts against each other, like all the different variations, and it seemed like there was a quest for knowledge and learning. But at this point, to me, I think for years it's been mostly a blood sport, and I'm not interested in that. The slap stuff is just it's insane. It's not even entertaining to watch. I don't get that. But there's a respect level that needs to be maintained, and we could talk. So I don't think hosting a UFC event at the White House is respectful to the history of the White House and the decorum or what it stands for. So I think there are things that Trump is doing. For example, his always painting the other side in a negative light. It's the same thing that the other side does. And so we're no better if we're doing that. He's not helping to usher in peace, an era of peace and togetherness of American culture, to heal divides. He's just not. I think he had an opportunity to, and I think earlier in his sort of upcoming or uprise, that he, at that time you could forgive it because he was battling institutions and he was battling just organizations and people and ideologies that were coming at him with everything in the kitchen sink. And so you could kind of forgive it that he had to like fight back to just hold his own, right? But at some point you got to start bringing everything together and not just condemning the people that you share a country with. So I think these are some of his failures that are pretty obvious and are problems. So that's for any of the people that would say, oh, you voted for Trump. I don't think about you. Like, sometimes things are a lot more complex than just, did you cast a vote for the group of liars that put up a puppet that you can't trust at all, that says completely outlandish things and absolutely wants to take away, like, is maniacal in ways that you're just going to be ignorant of. So did you cast the vote for that person, or did you cast the vote for the person that has moral failings, is probably to some extent an egomaniac, and that we can't really be sure of what's going to happen, but maybe it could work out. Which way did you vote? And then if you voted this way, then you're a bad person, or you voted this way, you're a bad person. I don't think the people that voted in the other direction of me are a bad person. I think they might be misinformed, but I don't think that they're a bad person. And so that's on some level how I know that I'm not actually that wrong, because I don't condemn the people that have a different opinion than me. I might be frustrated or disappointed or at the situation, but I'm not frustrated and disappointed. I don't hate them. And they're just not, I don't think they're acting in their own best interest. I don't think they're acting in everyone's. All right. So let's get to this first thing, which is the lie, as Saagar Enjeti says, that it's not a lie that's for us. It's a lie that's a signal. And he says it's a signal to the other powerful elite that they will be protected. Now, that's an interesting angle. For me, as I saw these lies like there's good people on both sides, and then Trump immediately condemns white supremacists, white nationalists, like in the sentence after, or like in the same paragraph, and then it gets clipped up, and a lie is purported through the media that is so easy to disprove that it's shocking that any major media organization would put that forward, because anybody that digs in for 2 seconds can find out that it's just a complete lie. It's so low effort. It's such shameless lying and easily disprovable lying that it's shocking. Because then what you have to ask yourself is, how would, if an organization were reputable, which at this point these organizations probably are not reputable, but if they felt that they had some kind of reputation to uphold, why would they ever put forward lies that can be proven in seconds? That you can search for the fuller form video and find that moment and find it in like 5 minutes, let's say. 5 minutes you could do the research and figure out that that's a lie. And then you would know this organization is, at best, incredibly incompetent and lazy and sloppy. And at worst, and what I think is more likely, is knowingly pushing forward false information that they just don't care anymore. Okay, so why would they do this? Because to a large percentage of the population that actually are willing to dig into this, or watched the media in full, or watched that 5-minute segment, they're going to know that this is a lie. So then what does the lie actually do? Now, to the people with their heads buried in the sand, I guess they won't know. And so maybe they're counting to some extent that their support base just will not look past what's put right in front of their face. And that might actually be a lot of people. But then what about for all the other people? And so to me, I start wondering to what extent these media organizations are in league with political powers or billionaire powers, or world powers, and to what extent they're putting forward lies, not for the people that have their heads in the sand, but actually to send messages and signals to the people that don't. We can put forward lies and it won't matter. And we still are going to have this big fan base. We're still going to have our support base. They aren't going to leave us. And we can do it right in front of your faces, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. And so I think I started to wonder to what extent the lies weren't, because there's so many of them, and they were just over and over again, and they were so easily disprovable, and they just kept coming out as false over and over again. To what extent are the lies? I mean, you could have people like, kleptomaniacs that are addicted to stealing. Maybe you have people that become addicted to lying, but these are the things we have to try to figure out. To what extent is it organized, and what extent are the lies just meant for people like me or other people to scare us, to let us know that we don't have a chance, that we better shut up, because they can just tell lies right out, and then we can try to tell the truth, and we'll eat complete shit for it. If we try to tell the truth about a variety of different subjects, we will get called every name in the book. We will be attacked, and this is the same stuff with COVID. We will be our well-being, our careers. Everything will be attacked. And so then, that's what to some extent I started wondering if that's what the lie is for. That's what it seemed like to me. I don't think that they're just, that's what I thought. Saagar takes a little bit of a different angle here and actually says the lie is for other elites, and it's a lie that's designed actually as an organizational force to reassure a broad organization of people that sort of have a certain ideology, to try to help bring that together, and essentially, and that it's to encourage those people that they can act in this evil way, and they can act in this way, and it will be supported. And which is an interesting angle on it, something I'd have to give more thought to. But regardless, what I want to put forward right now with this video is understanding that a lot of the lies that are told publicly, that are obvious lies, at least question as to further than they're just trying to like invigorate their base. These lies at some level may take on a completely different life, a more sinister life, and it's something that I think we need to think about. And something that, for people that want to stand up for things that are just good, that we just want everyone to have a good life and battle whatever sickness is going on, that we need to think about ways to combat that. Scary thought. So that leads me into this idea of world powers and countries. And so, to some extent, at this moment right now with the Epstein stuff, the way that Trump's administration is coming across right now, you start to question, has Trump's administration become compromised? And now I don't know enough about the situation to have a strong conclusion one way or another on this. But you could say, to what extent is Trump's administration compromised? To what extent was Trump always compromised? And I'm going to continue to see how things play out. But regardless, one of Trump's things that he was talking about is wanting to make America great again. That's the big line, right? And so that he wanted America as a country to be strong, with strong borders, and to be a strong country, and that there's such a thing as American pride and American culture. But as we know, global organizations have started to become larger than countries. And it's something that I don't feel is talked about almost ever. But global organizations, some of them are more powerful than some countries. And so, just like our families move from state to state, or families are separating across international borders, what any particular country means, what its culture is, starts to mean less and less and less. And that actually brings a lot of irony to the whole uprising of this, you're a racist, or all this racist hysteria kind of stuff. We're actually becoming less and less possible to be racist, because races are becoming, I'll make a whole nother video on that, because I think that's a convoluted topic that is not talked about properly at all. And but people are marrying across racial lines. Like, you have to look at what does it mean to be racist, or culturalist, or nationalist. I think these definitions are like a Venn diagram. They're kind of messy, like watercolors running together, that people don't even really understand what they're talking about. They don't understand what these things actually mean, or we don't have a clear definition that we all agree for these different things. Watercolor running together. These countries, some organizations are more powerful than countries. And so, to what extent am I loyal to America? I mean, what extent, what is America? Now, I think I thought when I was growing up, I have pretty clear ideas about what America is. And so I feel like I'm loyal to that idea of what I feel that like America is. And to me, it seems like America's powerful institutions have been corrupted, and they're at least in a significant way being influenced or controlled by corrupt forces. And so that's scary. And then when you're paying taxes and you're putting work and effort that goes into the system, what are you actually working to support? And so that's the question when I say, to what extent am I loyal to America? It's not that I'm loyal to the idea of America. I'm loyal to the principles and ideas that I believe in, that I grew up believing in. But I'm not loyal to corrupt powers that might have taken control. And so that's where the ideas, that's what I'm getting at, is that ideas don't have borders. Ideas don't have borders. And institutions and organizations might, but even the organizations around the world start to not have borders, and you start to have all, and to some extent, isn't that what organizations are? Is an organization of ideas, a collection of ideas that's kind of held at the top that a whole bunch of people are following? Modern technology has fundamentally transformed the world, and religions, ideologies, belief systems, political systems, these don't really have borders anymore. Countries still do to some extent, but you have people all over the world, that are American or any country. You have people with visas that are. It's not so clear cut, is what I'm getting at, and so I don't know that I have a clear conclusion here, but maybe the direction we're headed is organizations of people are going to become more important than countries. And I don't know to what role internet and the people's ability to mobilize and organize themselves through email or websites or social medias or newsletters is going to become the way we connect. Because how many people know their neighbors? How many people are really connected to their local communities? Or are more people kind of plugged into really large systems? And there was this comedy bit that I really appreciated from Sebastian Maniscalco, where he talks about, maybe I can play it in another video, but he's like, when I was growing up, somebody come ring the doorbell in the 90s and the 80s, whatever, and whoa, the kids, the mom would be like, hey, honey, we have company. The kids would run with their socks and skid across the floor, and they run to the door and be like, whoa, Johnny's here. Luis, bust out the cake. We got company. They'd be so excited, the doorbell rings. Now in modern society, the doorbell rings. You're like, whoa, get down, get down. Who's there? Get the gun. It's like the doorbell rings. You're like, what? Who would ring my doorbell? That's a major transformation in like a cultural transformation. Like I grew up through that, so that's the way it was. The doorbell rings. You're like excited to see who it was. And now you're kind of on some level scared, like wondering who. Like people don't ring the doorbell anymore. Good people don't ring the doorbell. They just don't do that. If you want to set up plans, you call first. But back then, if you got a phone call, you'd be like, "Who is this? Who's calling this number? How did you get this number?" And now you get a phone call. It's different. I mean, it's we've got caller ID. You see who it is. Like, oh, it's da-da-da-da. You get a robot call or all these different calls that are, who knows, scammer calls, and you just be like, it's just another day, right? You just be like, who is this calling this number? And you think like maybe somebody's watching you or something. That's a major cultural transformation. And so the way that the technology impacts our lives, it's indisputable that it does. And so I don't know that we can reverse any of it, but at least we should be thoughtful about what's going on. And I don't know. I feel like I'm in a pretty powerless position because I don't feel like the algorithms put forward the information that I talk about. I don't. My networks of people aren't able to do anything about it. I feel like we feel powerless, and so I start to just think, well, maybe what I need to do is just get somewhere where if nukes start going off, or if large organizations, corrupt organizations start just seizing power and enforcing, sort of, I guess, draconian kind of laws, then maybe I can just be somewhere where I'm away from it, and And so I start to think in that direction because I just don't know. It just, yeah, I don't know. It seems that to me, I hardly see anyone in power that I can look to and feel like that person's got my interest. You know, that person's working genuinely in my interest. That person's telling the truth, and they're working in good faith. I don't see them like, and then the people that I feel like they do, it seems like they pretty quickly become compromised or corrupt in some way. And you know, I'll say this is the last thing I'll say. When the White House press secretaries, you know, on both sides, I was not a fan of Biden's press secretary. A press secretary should be there to relay information. And then that information, you spread that to the people. What Biden's press secretary did was damage control, and essentially just tried. Yeah, I think that's what her job actually was. It wasn't to get good information to people that need it. It was damage control. And I think when Caroline Leavitt took over, I think these people thought on some level they were going to come in and do a better job. And maybe to some extent she is. But it seems to me that her relationship with the media has quickly become something that's pretty reminiscent of what it was in the last administration. And so, I don't know, maybe we just shouldn't buy it anymore, and that any new administration that has these big promises, they're good at making compelling promises, maybe to the point that they get so enamored by it, that the illusion and the dreams, that they speak this way. But then when the reality hits and it's different. I'm getting a phone call, so I'll end it here. Thanks for watching the video. I'll put out another one probably within some days.